My affirmation was, you don't need anybody's help to have a good time.
It's huge. It sounds so simple, but it's huge.
It is. And so I would be like, I want to go float the river or something, and nobody will go with me. And I'm sitting there thinking like a little bitch, a little victim. Do it yourself then.
You don't need your spouse or your wife, your husband to be happy.
Exactly.
You should be happy.
I think a lot of couples could learn a lot from a statement like that. Like, you like working out, go work out. If you want to go ride a motorcycle and she hates it, then I don't know. That's your alone time for each other.
Be back in a couple hours.
If you can't define yourself on your own, you're not going to do it very well as a couple. How did I meet my wife? When I first moved here, I lived in the back of my car, and I was working for this guy in Denver. I couldn't stand it. It was like working for a tyrant. And I didn't even want to do what I'm doing anymore. I never wanted to do chiropractic. I was going to go home, probably be a welder and do metal fab with the family business. And anyway, I had a few people just insist that I give it a try out here. And I started working out of the back of Country Steakouts on some days, Alvina Shrum's living room. And they just funneled so many people over. And anyway, after kind of getting some momentum going, I bought a motorcycle and I go cruise, but I found myself not going on a cruise because I didn't have anybody else to go with. It's like when women go to the bathroom, you gotta have a friend to take you or something. So anyway, I bought this little jump seat pass with Frontier. One of my patients didn't have any family to give it to, so I gave her like $300 and I could fly anywhere Frontier goes for landing fees. So I go to Mexico for $20. And so I just forced myself to go do something somewhere, whether somebody could go or not. And I got the reputation with a couple of patients that, this guy goes somewhere all the time. And Lalo is his name. It's my wife's cousin. He said, yeah, you need to meet my cousin. She travels for work a lot too. I'm like, I don't need a girlfriend though. But that's basically how it started with hers. I was like, well, I could use a travel buddy though. And I could go anywhere, but I don't really know where to go. It's kind of a tough question to answer too. And if I got a travel buddy, it's already in California, I'll just meet up in California for the weekend.
Just stay over there and I'll meet you over there.
Yeah. And so she'd stay an extra day from work and we'd hang out and just go do stuff. And it was, I don't know, probably 9 months of that without anything more than a hug. I'd sleep on the floor just to prove a point. We're not dating.
That's what. So before you were living out here, how did you start? Like, where you're like, I opened my own business, or how was that process like? You said you were living in your car, so you didn't have capital, I guess, when you started your business.
No, I honestly got to put a lot of credit and thankfulness to the town. But more than any of that, it was probably just Alvina Shrum single-handedly convinced me and drugged me out. And she grabbed some money out of a safe in her floorboard at the office. And I bought some equipment, like a used computer that I refuse to get rid of. It's still at the office from a pawn shop in Cheyenne. And another chiro friend of mine in Denver, he had one of the tables I'm using was sitting under a tarp in his backyard. I didn't even ask him. I backed up to it and said, if you're going to treat your table like this, I'm taking it. I didn't offer to buy it or anything.
I'm going to just take it.
Yeah. And
So how was business for you, like, say, the first 3 to 5 years? Because were you married at this time when you barely started it? Or
no, I was just me and my oldest daughter living in the back of a Toyota. I started coming out just like on afternoons, maybe in March. And then by about Memorial Day, I came back from a trip. My wheel bearing seized up and basically got a ration of shit from the boss that I had at the time. This was like 2012. And I was like, man, this is enough. I didn't break any rules or anything like that. It's just shit happens and I couldn't get back. And I gave you a 3-day heads up, like chill.
Yeah.
And anyway, I called up Alvina because I used to open up their shop at like 5 a.m. because she has to be back to work and all this stuff. So I called her and said, nobody's going to be meeting you that early anymore. Just letting you know. Don't bring my name up anymore. We didn't end well. And she's like, well, honey, just come out here. I'm like, oh yeah, because that's everybody's dream is to move to Kansas part of Colorado that smells like sugar beets, you know?
Oh yeah.
Smells like money, right, Eric?
Oh, yeah. Just like the video, smells like money.
Yeah, so I don't know. It honestly took off like wildfire. I don't even know how.
What year was it that you started? Like, I guess
I got into the building that I'm in now, July of 2012.
Okay.
And I bluffed it a little bit. I told them I'm going to pay my rent weekly, but that's literally all I had that first week, and it had to work. There wasn't.
Surprisingly, they took you up on that offer, because a lot of places now, like if you don't have that much capital or whatever, they'll be like, no, you got to pay a couple months.
Honestly, that probably had a lot to do with Alvina building it up on the backside of the conversation. I don't know why they took the deal either. It's probably a lot like that table. I said, this is how you're going to treat this empty building. I'm taking it. So, and on a handshake deal, the credit unions, they used to own the building. I think they had offers to sell it, and they honored the handshake with me to let me buy it in the long run. And they could have broken that deal and won it, and they never did. So I really got to give a lot of credit to just literally everybody I've ever met here has been amazing. But yeah, I took off my first week in July. I think I saw 22 people. And then by Thanksgiving, I saw 222 people that weekend of Thanksgiving. So less than 6 months. It's just crazy how
It was
quick.
just blowing up then.
Why?
Yeah.
I'm interested, like, why like chiropractor? Because there's like different reasons, like realms you could go into, and then you were just saying like, oh, I'll just come back, do some fab and stuff.
I always loved how things move and work. And honestly, if you ask me, like, what does chiropractic do? It's different than other avenues of medicine. It really just loves the little intricacies of how things move. So it's kind of like a human engineer or something. You can just, I don't know, little things just stand out, and I've always liked it. But rewind the tapes all the way to, I think I was like 3. I was a little bit of a daredevil, or as my parents would probably say, I just didn't really weigh consequences much. I fell off of this 13-foot slide, I think. I tumbled down. I remember going up like this, and I grab it, and just the momentum of each step, it just kind of felt, I don't know what it felt. I just felt like, wow, this is kind of fun. And I missed my grip on the top ladder, or top step. I tumbled down the thing, and then my leg got caught in the ladder, and it broke it. And then my arm hit real hard, and it broke it. And then my other leg got caught, and then the last rung of the steps, my head clung against the last rung of the ladder and cracked my skull open and stuff. So I think, from that point on, honestly, I think that would have killed a lot of people. And it probably would have me, but I think I was too young to know what dying was, because some of those near-death things, I feel like I can relate to them. But at any rate, the, high school hits, and then all those growth plates and things that would have been inevitably messed up from such a big injury, they started to kind of have an effect on me. And I go to the doctor, and my legs don't work. They're in just so much pain and everything. And they're like, there's nothing wrong. We can't see it. I said, well, just because you don't know what's wrong doesn't mean there's nothing wrong. I'm not making this up. And I just had a hard time with literally everybody. And so I just got a chip on my shoulder about the whole thing, because it basically feels like nobody cares. And then I went to this wackadoodle chiropractor. He's not a wackadoodle. He's really good. But he up to that point, I'm like, why am I going to go to this guy? He's not even a real doctor, whatever, people would say. And he blamed it all on my neck, why my low back wouldn't work. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, but you act like you know what you're talking about. And everybody else seems to think I'm lying. So I just drank the Kool-Aid, got adjusted, and man, I could move again and run again. And I thought it was pretty awesome to be able to do that. And I wasn't really, my mom's a superintendent, and so she's pretty sure we were going to go to college our whole life. I wanted to do anything opposite of what she said. So I wasn't planning on going to college. It's going to be a motorcycle mechanic or something. And
so like you having this bad experiences and stuff in the past, is that kind of what leads you kind of to like your business name? Like you're saying, like proactive, like the proactive approach.
Yeah, the proactive approach. You could be reactive and try to figure out what's wrong, or you can be proactive and try to have some side view mirrors and see around your blind corners a little bit, and just have that philosophy of thinking ahead a little bit. So,
why do you think there's that disconnect now? Like, I guess you can say like in either chiropractic or just like medicine, direct prime, or whatever it is, that they're just like it's a one size fits all kind of thing.
Honestly, I blame it on. I would blame it on insurance. Why don't you get an MRI, for example, whenever you get an injury? There's no radiation from it. It's not like you're risking ionizing, radiating exposure like an X-ray would do. It's just cost prohibitive. So they make you go down this avenue, deal with this, deal with that, whatever.
So do you take insurance?
I try to, but they make it impossible sometimes.
The companies make it impossible?
Yeah. So they've done their homework. They figure out where to set a deductible. I had a guy come in today. He said his insurance covers 30 visits. I'm like, cool. What they didn't say, the asterisk, is after your deductible's met. Well, insurance's mind is, it's covered. They just put that money toward their deductible. Well, they'll pay out however many dollars. Let's say it's like $40 times 30. That's where the deductible's at. So until the deductible's already been met, we get shit on a little bit. So it's, I don't know. Back to the kind of the answer to the question is, insurance basically tells doctors how to practice. If you go in for knee pain, and then you ask your doctor, oh, hey, can you look at my ingrown toenail? They'll make you come back. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they're told to, because of what insurance won't cover. You can't treat two things in one visit.
That's so dumb.
Yeah. Because
I've heard stories online that people are in other countries or whatever. They're like, oh, I need to see a doctor right now. And they see him right away instead of here you have to make an appointment that's a couple weeks out or whatever, and then it's a whole process when in reality the doctor's just waiting back there just hoping somebody comes just so they can actually do something about it.
I can't remember where it was at, but I want to say there was a place in, I don't know, it's probably Asia, but I think that the doctors there are graded on how many times they don't see patients. Which basically means, what if you're proactive enough to where you kept them from ever having heart disease or whatever? They're scored on how good they can prevent it, and that's another.
So if they're seeing them on a regular basis, then it's probably not a good doctor.
Yeah, or depending on the severity of what they're seeing them for. If they're seeing them on a regular basis, to update your vitamins or get adjusted or whatever, then they find that there's nothing but research that shows the people that get adjusted regularly don't go in for high dollar things. They're already moving good. They're already getting the nutritional stuff the way they should, and the philosophy of everything in healthcare maybe the way it should be to begin with.
I think that's the whole problem just with the insurance and stuff too, but then just medical field and medical industry in general. It's I want to think that they're doing good for everybody, and I'm sure there's people out there who are, but then there's, for some reason, I think there's just a little conspiracy theory that we got going on. It's that they just want to keep you as a client.
Yeah.
They just want to keep you coming back.
Is it a conspiracy theory?
I don't know.
I said, I don't know.
Well, I think of it as more realistic, but then, I don't know how the rest of the public sees it, how the people out there see it.
I don't disagree with you. I really honestly don't think it's the doctors that are that way. I think their hands are kind of tied with how do they exist as a business when everything's so insurance, based and focused. They have to play by the games of the big guy that has the big wallet, and that's the insurance companies that just kind of tie their hands with the decision making. And I don't know. It's unfortunate. But another example of some of that would be a knee injury. If I asked either of you, when's the last time you had your knees checked or something? You're well, they don't hurt.
Probably should, because mine are crooked.
Yeah. It would be reactive if we use the existing medical model. Be I don't know. They're not bad enough to do X, Y, Z. So how do you know? Like pain's not your only indicator of poor health. Sometimes you get like heartburn, insomnia, hot flashes. There's all kinds of other things that aren't really a problem. They're actually a symptom of some other problem. Like a couple of weeks ago, my knee didn't feel quite right. I just had our nurse practitioner. I asked her if she would do a PRP injection in my knee. And it always begs the question, well, why'd you do that? I said, I don't know. I don't want to have a good reason. I'd like to be proactive, not reactive. If it's bad enough that it needs surgery, I kind of missed the little red flags for a long time to have a knee get to that point. And I'd like to be ahead of that. So.
For you, kind of like in business, I mean, since the time when you started to now, what keeps you like innovating every time? Because like when you started, you're like, I was pretty much on a week to week basis. I was sleeping in my car, like living in my car. So like, how do you keep it innovating to pretty much what it is now? Because you kind of have to be like adding new stuff and hiring people. Like,
it has kind of been a weird transition because initially I would say it was like a prey and a predator approach. I was running a race in business, and I felt like I was always looking over my shoulder like a rabbit worried about a coyote or something, you know. I was like, what if they don't come back? What if they don't do this? And now it's turned into more of like a target seeking mentality.
When did that flip for you?
I don't know when it flipped.
Was it like early on?
Or just... No, it was honestly, it still just feels like, I don't know. I was just paranoid. Like, what if it doesn't work?
I think that's a healthy form of paranoia to be.
Yeah.
Like, what if it doesn't work? And it just
keep
forces
trying.
you to keep going, keep driving, keep getting better.
I just feel like you either win or you learn, but losing is a decision and a mindset. And so I haven't gotten everything right. And there's plenty of things I'm still getting wrong, but I'm just willing to kind of work in the right direction. And like if it was a football, the play doesn't usually go exactly the way it's drawn up. It still takes a little improvisation from the running back to figure out, you know, which step, which kind of whatever move. That's not put in the play. That's just the art of doing whatever.
Could you say that again? Can you repeat that? What do you say? Losing is what do you say?
You either win or you learn. Losing is a decision. It's a mindset to accept the defeat of it.
I like that.
Yeah.
What, did you always think like that? Did you always have those, or when did you start kind of instating those?
Man, I've always kind of had a couple of one-liners up my sleeve I don't even know where I hear half of them, but I'm sure somebody said it to me at some point. I don't remember who it was in particular, but I just figure as long as I'm learning something, there's no way you can screw it up. As long as you just try and keep your feet moving. You only stop in the backfield.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever stop your feet in the backfield, you're going to lose a few yards, but just keep going. And
you just learned a new way of what not to do now.
Yeah.
And I think that's
kind of the Edison mindset, like 113 ways the light bulb doesn't work. But I don't know where the flip happened to be target seeking. I would like to think that it was, there's like an altruistic nature, I think, in any healthcare provider. You sacrifice a decade of your life to go to school just so you can have somebody be happy with what you did to help them. Like, that's the dream you have. Your Miss America answer of like, why do you want to be a doctor? I'm like, I want to help people. It's not about the money, you know? Like, you could start making money 10 years earlier and doing something else, selling, cars or working at Wendy's or something. And you sacrifice that for the long haul of doing right by people. And, you know, I think remembering back to how it was for me when I was going to all these different medical providers and they're trying to help me figure out why my back doesn't work, why it hurts. And it kind of feels like they're not listening. And like, I know that's not true. It's just that altruistic nature, I think, is what has kicked in a few times. Like when someone says, I need an MRI and I can't get one. It just, enough of those stories happen and it pissed me off. I'm like, fine, I'll just get an MRI machine. You know, like,
yeah.
I'm so tired of hearing it.
Do you ever get like, I don't know if like obsessed is the right word, but like frustrated when people come in, they're like, I have this wrong with me. When you know, like, it's probably not that, but they want to insist that.
When Google told them?
Yeah, like they looked it up on Google. Just like
I don't see
WebMD says.
I got a lot of probably colleagues or whatever that probably get offended by that. I've had people work with us that would get so offended. I said, man, you should kind of appreciate it. Maybe they've weeded things out or in or whatever. And maybe if they're wrong, that's okay. They don't have, like, you lose as a mindset. You're just learning something here. And
So you should appreciate that they're doing some of their own research.
yeah, they're being assertive. They're being proactive. They were
Yeah.
looking it up before they got here. I think you should appreciate that. Like, you got to be your own advocate, because 9 times out of 10, the system's not looking out for you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of wired against you, whether it's healthcare or taxes or your utilities, whatever. You could not use your lights this entire month, and you still got a hookup fee.
They'll still get you.
There's always something.
They'll still get you. Yeah.
So, like, if someone wants to help kind of weed out some of those things and help be part of their own solution, I'm always into that. I think that's awesome.
What role does your wife play in it? Because you guys got married when, like, pretty, like, earlier on the business. So I mean, I always have the mentality, like, sometimes you get off early, sometimes it's late. So I think you need to have, you and your partner have to be, like, aligned, know where you're going. I mean, Erick just got married, so it's like, I'm married and I have kids, so it's like, what role does she play with you?
Man, I almost cleared myself up. We said that. So she's everything to me. I was doing pretty good before I met her. But man, she balances me. She grounds me. She inspires me. Like everything, like literally just don't really have words for it. I think more than anything, she just believes in me. And you guys probably attest to it too. There is nothing more powerful than a dude that knows he's got a girl that believes in him. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's your daughter or your mom or your wife or whatever, but there's some kind of feminine belief that you're going to kick some ass. You can't let them down. Like, there's just something in every guy that's masculine, whatever, that you don't want to let anybody down. Thanks.
Yeah.
They believe in you so much. It's like, shit, now I got to show up. Like, now there's no other alternative.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as a kid, I worked my ass off more than anything in probably basketball, which if I'd have done that in football, I probably wouldn't be living here. But I was a damn good shot. And part of being a good shot is being a little bit cocky about it too.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of like,
play that line to work. Yeah.
yeah. And you're like, I bet I can get a shot off on this guy. I mean, it's just how you think. And I remember coming home and saying, Mom, I think I'm like one of the best shots. I'm the best shot in our school for sure. I think I could probably go toe to toe with anybody in the county or the state. And I got to thinking, I'm like, man, I could probably go against a lot of the college guys just with shooting percentage. She's like, you're so cocky. It's like she get, you know, that was kind of like I don't know. She's just trying to keep me from getting my head in the clouds, maybe.
Trying to keep you grounded.
Yeah. And I'm like, can't win with her sometimes, you know? And so I just always kind of had a little bit of a chip, I think. And I think that honestly fueled me to just push and grind even harder just as a natural state. And then I meet Allie, and she believes in me unconditionally, like more than I do. Huh. And I mean, that's also what got me out here too, if I'm being honest. So like Alvina, same thing. I had some female feminine figure that believed in me that I was going to come out here, and you got these people that believe in you more than you do, and you just don't want to let them down. And I think that's kind of like over the years been somewhat of a self-discovery thing to try to keep myself in check, because it could be a patient that needs you to help them out. They're going to lose their job if they don't keep, showing up to work or whatever. And so, yeah, I guess going back to how did I end up out here, it's just, I don't know, luck.
I appreciate you being open about that. But yeah, I always we have these conversations too with like Eric and my wife, just anyone. Like, I think, like you said, like it's so underestimated. People are like, no, that doesn't like matter as much. And I think it matters more than anything. You having someone that believes in you. First of all, like if shit hits the fan, like you know who got your back. Like you know. And I think it's so underestimated. But it's like, yeah, I don't want to be at 7 sometimes p.m., 8 p.m. and then she's like, where are you at? Like if I'm not home, it's because I'm working. Like I'm doing some stuff.
Done that.
Yeah, so that's I think that's so underestimated. Some people
if I'm not home by 8, she might check my location, text or something. And if I don't answer, she'll bring dinner. She's like, he's probably working late. She's never one time ever.
And then we also talk about too. It's like, once you like find that person, then you can kind of put like the dating life, the dating scene on rest, like finally, so you can stop worrying about that. Like, oh, I have to go out on a date or whatever. I have to like actually put work into this other part, and it allows you just to go like 100% in on like your vision, your business, and growing that up.
Yeah, it's really. So here's a weird little factoid. We'll come back to this in a second, a little bit, but I was probably more cut out to do music than I was anything. That was just a natural thing for me. By the time I could drive, I could play like 14 instruments or something.
Really?
What was your best one or your favorite?
Probably piano.
Piano.
I had a college scholarship to do the trumpet, and I was in like a choir and a barbershop quartet thing there for a while, and just some of the
Any violin?
No, that's the one I wish I did.
That's mine.
I'd die happy if I could.
I haven't picked it up in a couple years. But I still got it there.
How'd you get in that role? How'd you do that?
Oh, well, so many things just kind of hinge off that injury I told you about. I don't think I slept much as a kid. And I don't know. I piss everybody off if I kept them up. So I tried to figure out how to stay quiet and not wake anybody up. And I was able to play the guitar on the opposite side of the house in the basement. And I had this aha moment where I just, the music theory of piano and guitar all kind of merged together and just like, oh, wow. So then I got into like making my own version of songs and then writing my own songs. And I almost got a contract at one point when I was like a 8th grade or freshman year or something to like do some song for Disney with Alan Menken and stuff. And it was
wow,
that's cool.
It could have been like a big deal. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And
so get the guitar, Eric. We're gonna have him play us a song now.
No, coming soon. You would know another. Well, so remind me of that. I'm tying this back to like with my wife. Is one of the songs that I've kind of been working on here recently was the different versions of how girls see guys. So like right now, my youngest especially thinks I'm the coolest dude in the world. Wait till she's like my oldest and I'm the dumbest dude in the world, you know? But every girl at some point probably wishes they could marry their dad, you know, like they just, that's who you want to be with. And then they get a little older and realize, all right, well, it's not perfect. And you kind of come up with your own version.
So how old's your youngest?
6.
So how important do you think it is for you to be a role model for your 6-year-old daughter? Because I have the belief, like, if I treat other people like shit, my wife like shit or whatever, my daughter's going to see that and she's going to think that's okay. So she's going to be with some scumbag, you know, or whatever. Because that's what she's used to. Yeah. So how important do you think it is for like you, or what do you do?
Oh, it's everything. Because I used to tell friends and family, whatever, like you can't tell your kids how to work hard. They learn it by watching you do it. And so that's where I was really a little unapologetic when I moved here, living in the back of a car with, at the time, she would have been like 4 or 5. You know, it was kind of like just be happy with where you're at and enjoy that. If you can't be happy there, you're not going to be happy anywhere else. You got to be able to be happy with nothing before something's going to be worth it. And so I just tried to turn it into like, oh, we're going to camp at the office tonight and
make it fun.
Yeah, and my oldest now, she gets up at 5 a.m. and goes to the gym every morning. She's never watched me do that. I used to like working out, but I don't know, I'm trying.
How long has it been since you were talking about it the other day? Because you're jacked still. And you're like, I don't go to the gym. Jacked. I was like, what do you mean you don't go to the fucking gym?
Yeah.
You're jacked.
I don't know. I am the shortest guy on either side of the family by probably 4 inches. And I think that's, maybe my pituitary gland got smashed in that head injury. And I probably should have had a bone frame that's 6'4" maybe. But
got cut short.
Yeah, it got cut short, so it just looks like there's all this extra on there. I don't know. Nobody else is even built like me and my family, so I don't even know if I'm related.
Talk to me a little bit more about like the circle you have around you, because we always hear on social media and stuff. It's like you are who you surround yourself with, or if you have 5 productive friends, you're gonna be the 6th, or if you have 5 lazy friends, you're gonna become the 6th. Like, how is it like keeping it like obviously your circle positive, but also getting rid of that negative energy in there?
I don't know that I try to get rid of negative energy. I don't put attention on it. So it's like it's not in the rear view or the windshield or anything. It's just noise on the side maybe at best, and if you don't look at it, it's not there. So if I were to say who I spend most of my time with, it's without a doubt my wife and my daughters. And when it comes to like this maybe topic, we're kind of pretty cohesive on our lives, and not a lot gets inside our little circle, so to speak. Some of it's because my wife and my oldest are pretty introverted, and then the youngest and me are not. But
got to balance it out, huh?
Yeah. Well, by the time I go home after seeing maybe 80 people in a day, that I'm kind of done wanting to go see any more. So I get to that state, and it's not really like you're looking to get out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, top 5 influences currently. I mean, last night, this is one of the ones I was touching too with the guitar thing. A friend of mine is a chiropractor in Nashville. Last night, he was on The Voice, and he made it on Team Reba.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
My wife was going through and sent me a picture of it. But I don't know, it's like 6 months ago, I was on stage playing with him in Nashville.
Really? That's crazy.
So
that's awesome.
We got kind of an eclectic group.
Well, there's just like similar-minded people and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you just, I guess, because you were saying like the negative stuff is just noise on the outside. How do you just not pay attention to it? Because it's very easy to get distracted.
I've been on
trying to build a business.
I've been on this wormhole recently about like, I'm fascinated by it, just how men and women communicate different, and masculine and feminine. You need both. And I think paying attention to noise is feminist, like energy, if you want to call it that. They worry about what other people think. And so
you're very feminine, Erick. That's what he's saying.
Well, sometimes. We all have both traits, though, feminine and masculine, whatever. And as I've gotten older, it's been really easy not to worry about. Well, your opinion of me is none of my business. Mm-hmm. So
I can't control what you're going to think of me.
So I literally heard
even though it's about me, it doesn't mean I'm entitled to know what it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I heard a video the other day. It was pretty much about that. Like when you're in your 20s, you think everyone's paying attention to you, and then once you get like 40s, 50s, like around that age, you're just like, I really don't care for it. And then once they're like your 70s, 80s, they're like, nobody even looked at me to begin with. You start looking at it like that didn't even matter.
I feel like the sooner you realize that the sooner you just start maturing, the sooner the faster you start to grow.
But how hard is it though to do that though, if you think about it? Because everyone's always playing the keeping up with the Joneses, like everyone wants to have the best thing. So how?
I let my wife have that feminine energy, worrying about what other people think, I guess. And I know that if I keep her happy, everything else is fine. Like, that's really all I gotta, I think, worry about. If everything's handled for her to be comfortable and I didn't ruffle too many feathers that she heard about, then
yeah,
nothing wrong with that day.
I think it's also important to just like not spend too much time on social media, because it's very easy to just see your 1,000, 2,000 friends on there, and seeing all what they do, and then you kind of just get lost in the sauce, and you're just like scrolling like mindlessly, and you're just like,
One of the things
I wish I had that.
So when I first moved here, I got this Leonardo DiCaprio quote. Maybe it's a paraphrase quote at this point. I don't remember exactly how it was stated, but he said the worst thing you can do in my business is listen to the critics. And everybody's like, well, yeah, they're always talking shit, right? He goes, yeah, but the way that you got there is when they were talking compliments of you, you fell in love with it. He says, that's where you get your first hit of that drug. And then you believe them because, yeah, I think I'm awesome too. Well, that same person talks shit about you, and then your self-worth is in
that
their opinion of you. And so I thought when I moved here, I made so many intentional, deliberate steps, and that was one of them. I'm just like, I'm not going to worry about what I heard or what somebody said they heard or whatever. I came from a small town, so what you hear makes up for what you don't get to see in a small town. and
not pay too much attention, I guess, to the wins, and like so you can celebrate it a little bit, but it's like, okay, we got this goal, time to get the next one.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to the beginning again. How do you pick what you're going to do next at like the office? And I don't know that I don't ever really pick. It seems to just kind of develop itself. I mean, I just trust the process. I try not to get too excited about a win, and I think that's something I need to work on, and probably just get into that moment of just enjoying the space without getting so far ahead of where I am in this moment of time. But it is.
What was one of the biggest things that, I mean, you say you don't think about it too much, but for you that you started adding, so you're like just chiropractic, but then you have like, now you have the hormone therapies, you have the laser hair, you have IV treatment, you have all this other stuff. What did you see in that you were just like?
I appreciate that you thought that was a visionary move, but it wasn't. Either way you learn. You know, I saw us doing stem cell injections, more of a mainstream thing to help complement like the arthritis and things that we see that come through. And Sandra Boone was kind of involved with that hormone step. I was just trying to come up with a way to trick her to be here. Like I need you for some of this other stuff. And I'm like, if hormones, if BioT and all this stuff's what you want to do, let's do it.
Whatever gets her in the door.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, now I know, because I know other people aren't going to entertain conversations like that. So I'm like, I wasn't really interested in it.
We're just saying that most of the places too that have like the hormone stuff or like gynecologists and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too.
It's usually like, you know, women's centers and stuff like that do it. But it's less taboo to talk about hormones, and maybe and the cross section of how many guys we see compared to girls is far more guys in ours than most clinics are. But maybe it's just because of my own personal testimony, the whole thing. I don't know, but
that's crazy that they only have that in like the women clinics and stuff like that. If both men and women both deal with hormone issues.
Yeah, you don't always.
But
realize.
I think it's like not the manly thing to do though.
Right.
Like to go to the doctor. Like, I don't look like a bitch. I don't need to go get blood work.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. Like,
Why though?
I don't know. It's because we go back to the who you give validation to like society. Or
that's one of the things that I was bringing today was like, it's just a symptom survey, and irritability, anxiety, hair loss, memory loss, mental fog. Those are things that we all just say, oh, that's just part of old age. Well, like, how come 90-year-olds can still do a Sudoku problem, and then there's 50-year-old people who are like having dementia and living in an assisted living place? You know, like if it's strictly a number that causes those things, everybody should get all of those things and predictably in a certain amount of time. And some people do just fine at 103 years old, you know, and other people don't even come close to halfway.
I think it's like what you were saying, like being proactive. Like those are symptoms. A lot of people probably feel those symptoms, but they're just gotten used to it. That's just like, oh, that's just how I feel today. It's just one of those things. And then later on down the road, they're going to be all fucked up. Yeah.
I think the main way to be proactive, if there's like a way to define it, is to think about what do you think the problem is right now. If you're irritable, you can say that guy's always so irritable. That's his problem, is that he's irritable. But there's something that causes somebody to be irritable. You know, your bandwidth is shrunk so far, and then you're getting more than what you can handle, and it just makes you a little pissy. But, you know, hormones can help widen that bandwidth for you. Same thing could happen with just like hot flashes or whatever. But whatever it is, I think you're being proactive if you're trying to figure out why. Like sciatica is a pretty common thing people come into the chiropractor for. It's not a problem. It's a symptom. It literally breaks down as like a description of a pain pattern. That's what sciatica means. It doesn't, you could pinch it, you could pull it, you could cut it. There's all kinds of ways to injure your sciatic nerve and get sciatica, but the diagnosis isn't the complaint, it's what causes it. And I think that spills over to all these other things that we have too, like the hormone therapy. And
I think the biggest thing is like you're pretty much a walking billboard of it, like, because you've done it, you know, you've done the stuff, so it brings out credibility. Like we talk about it, like if we do marketing, if we do videos and you never seen me do a video ever, then it's like you don't even consume your own drugs.
Yeah,
so it's like,
true.
Is it that good?
Yeah. You know, at my lowest, one of the things we have to try to stay proactive is an in-body machine that measures your muscle, your fat content, your visceral fat. And you can see where it's at in your arms, legs, torso. And I had a pretty heavy eye-opening moment. You want to be below a visceral fat score of 10 if you want to be in a spot where you're preventing heart disease. And I was like at a 14. And
Does it measure it just like in one body part? Like you're 14 and just like say your arm or
just
your
the
belly?
visceral fat.
Oh, okay.
Just from
It's
the
on your organs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it measures your arms and stuff too. And it tells you how many pounds of muscle you have on your arms and legs. And it's awesome. Well, there was a point in time where I did it and I weighed 254 pounds. I'm not even 6 feet tall. Man, I think my BMI right now is 38, so I don't even know what it would have been. And it just kind of hit me. I was like, God dang, that would be you.
What are you at now, like weight wise?
I think I weighed
Roughly.
237.
So like at least a good 20 pounds.
Yeah, at one point when I was doing kind of our weight loss program and everything and intermittent fasting, whatever, I got all the way down to 219 for maybe one day. And that just seems to be the toughest number for me to break below 220. But I don't really say it to impress anybody necessarily. I just impress upon them that it's just a number. And I think Bio-T gave me like energy. It gave me a lot of focus. I used to have my office work schedule was 9 to noon, 3 to 6. And I would have 12 to 3 available to take a crash nap.
Did you have it like that on purpose or just like I need a nap?
Yeah, sometimes I don't get out on time and I don't want to cut somebody short and act like I don't care and be a part of that problem that I was always bitching about. And sometimes they call and you got to get back early. So I tried to shave an hour. So from 1 to 2 would be my crash nap time. And I don't need it anymore. It's like an extra hour I can go do something else.
So is that one of the things that you were just like, this isn't normal. I shouldn't be taking a nap in the middle of the day. I should check it up.
Yeah, my grandpa does.
Well, it was kind of like that moment that you kind of like realized all this stuff was kind of going on with you.
Yeah.
Like it was like a similar thing that happened with me. It wasn't until like I stepped on a scale that I saw it was like 320 pounds that I was like, oh shit, that's not good.
Yeah.
Should probably change something.
We're doing a big weight loss thing with a couple of the gyms in town. I'm so excited about this. I actually was telling our staff today, I haven't been this excited about something in a while. It's kind of make me wonder, like, wow. But gyms usually will do a lot of weight loss challenges this time of year. And that's the one word I don't want to use. Like, who cares about what the weight is? Let's use this machine we have as like a prism. If your weight was light, we break it into different colors and figure out, do you want to gain muscle? Do you want to reduce your fat? Do you want to, where do you want to gain your muscle? In your arms or your legs, everywhere? You can't answer that if you don't measure it. And so that's what's neat about having this. You got to measure what matters. Now, a lot of times people don't even know how many calories are in a pound. And you want to lose 20 pounds, but like how are you supposed to reverse engineer a diet or a fitness plan if you don't know what kind of caloric deficit to be in and at what time frame to do it in? So as long as you can get these numbers out on the table, it works. And so we're working with the Star and Bree Woodring, B3 Fitness. And we have all these people coming in, and it's just pretty exciting to see all these lights turning on, all these aha moments. They're like, oh, wow. And how I could lower your body fat percentage. I think my body fat mass, based off of what the machine says at least, says I have 40 pounds of fat on me, somewhere between 37 and 40. If I gain 5 pounds of muscle, I already reduced my body fat, even if I still have only 40 pounds. So you can work on both ends of that too, depending on what someone's struggle might be. And so to go back to like, how do you get so jacked or whatever? I think all that happened was just doing BioT and being focused and just kind of having the energy again, that extra hour a day of burning calories or whatever. It adds up. And if I don't use the lunch hour to eat lunch, then, I created another hour of caloric deficit instead of trying to do it with a nap. And so anything you see on me, it was there before. It was just under a few more layers.
How accurate are like those scales that you like buy like at Walmart or Amazon that like supposedly reads your body fat, your body or your muscle mass and stuff?
Like the one he had, or like the Walmart ones? Are you saying?
No, like the Walmart ones.
I have one at home, and I use it every night basically, and look at it and I compare it. Some of them are close. Some of them aren't. Like if you're just built weird like I am, it doesn't usually get me the same as the other machine does that measures out all of it. But yeah, I don't know. I challenge everything. My wife thinks that I only do it with her. But, that question came up in my mind. So I bought another scale and I compare the results of the two. And if they come out the same, they must be the same. But one will say that I got a certain amount of body fat, and the other one says that it's different. It asks you how tall you are, but it only measures your feet.
Yeah.
What if I have bird legs or something? It might look pretty.
Yeah, that's the one that gets me. I'm just like, how is that?
Yeah.
Is it really getting you? Like, I mean.
Yeah, and what's neat about the in-body scale is it uses different frequencies of electrical impedance. So that's how it can know the difference between visceral fat and, cosmetic fat or whatever.
Cosmetic fat. I like that one. I need to keep it on me for cosmetic reasons.
There's like structural fat, and that holds your organs in place. They all have a little different kind of density to them and a different electrical resistance. And so when you use a different frequency, it can split it off and let you know what you do and don't have.
Some people like do like stuff like that, like BLT and stuff. I'm guessing it'll probably work better if you have like a healthy diet, you work out.
Oh yeah. I mean, it won't do it for you. Sometimes I think people come in and they think it's going to be like liposuction. Mm-hmm. You still got to do your own work. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I was watching this documentary on him. I don't even remember what it's called. Probably Arnold or something. He
talks about the steroid stuff.
Yeah, he talks about steroid use. It's like that's part of the league of what they do at that level. Mm-hmm. And he said it was only 5% of his success as a bodybuilder. And I'm sure any of us roll our eyes.
Yeah, he had good work. 5%. Fuck, that's pretty.
He's like 95% of my results was because I worked my ass off. Was basically what he said. He says the other guys were getting it. They got steroids. How come they didn't beat me? He won at everything. So that's he true. Says, you see those big too.
You see those videos of him working out back then. You can see him like pushing it.
Yeah, and so. I don't know. That kind of made me go, yeah, it definitely won't do it for you. If you just take it, you're just probably raising your blood pressure. You're not really.
What are your thoughts on like people who are like pretty overweight, they're like obese, and instead of like them wanting to work out and get it off, they do like liposuction, or they'll get like a gastric bypass to kind of take
like that shortcut route or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, I think they Googled it. They probably felt like they've tried everything they could, but maybe they didn't know everything yet either.
Do you think it's healthy?
There's a lot of ways to maybe answer that, like starting with, is it mentally healthy to do that, let alone physically healthy? I think it's healthier to have less fat on you, yeah. Fat is like an inflammation reservoir. The more of it you have, the more inflammation you're capable of having. And I think that's why when we've been at our heaviest, we have those days where you're pretty much always sluggish. You're fighting some level of inflammation. But so on one hand, I could say, yeah, it's good for you. Then I wonder on a mental, emotional level, how good is it for you? Because anybody who's quote unquote earned, I don't want to take anything away from somebody who's done liposuction and happy with the results or anything, but the ones that have worked for it and earned it have like battle pride about it. You know, they're just like, shit, nobody can take that away from you. Like, you know, I earned it.
They have like a personal experience with like a family member who did like the gastric bypass route, and everything was good and stuff, but then they got like infected and stuff, and they almost lost their life.
Yeah.
But then now they're kind of like just back to their normal eating habits, just eating whatever. And that's where I'm just like, yes, you got this to kind of help you out, but now you're just eating whatever. So did it
right? Well, it's like steroids. You know, it's not going to do it for you. It's going to feel like it did because whatever, your energy's back, you lost all this weight, or the scale says you did good. But if you didn't sharpen the mental sword and all you did was just leach the fat off of you with a little fat vacuum, man, your days of having it stay that way are limited. You have to, like you've heard of 75 hard, he'll tell you front to back, it's not a physical exercise, it's a mental one.
What do you think about 75 hard?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you done it?
No.
You're like, no, like, fuck that.
I'm in the middle of it right now.
Are you?
Day 55, I think.
Man, I'm so proud of my wife.
Did she get through it?
She does this to me. She did it. Like to the number. And
You can do it too. Day one?
yeah, I know.
One day.
I've done 75 hard, just not consecutively. But that's why it's a mental game. You just get back up and you do it again. Like, whatever, you screwed up, start over. Like, I was talking about it with my daughter last night, picking out school. She goes, what if I don't get the passing grade on this? Like, take it again and you'll kick ass. I don't know. Like, quit being so afraid to fail.
Yeah.
You fail? Okay, cool. Accept it. And then, okay, well, what did I fuck up on?
The reason people fail at 75 hard, by the way, I think, my personal opinion, they think day 76 they're going to start drinking again.
That's the problem.
They're just waiting for day 76.
They think there's a vacation at the end of it.
Yeah.
And that's not the purpose. That's not the point. And that's why it's 75 days, not 15, because it's not long enough to build a habit of having that mental capacity and that sharp.
And people just look at it as a fitness challenge, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's
not a fitness challenge.
It's a year-long program, but 75 hard is just like the first part of that program.
Just like Arnold said. He looked that way because he worked his ass off. That's a reflection of his mental state, not his physical state. The physical is always a reflection of something inside. Like health comes from inside out. And it starts, if anything, in the mind.
There's going to be some days you love it, and there's going to be some days you hate it. It's like Mike Tyson said, like, discipline is doing what you hate and acting like you love it.
Right. I think people like, who are stuck at the bar and have beer and don't have to go to work tomorrow, they're actually more in a prison state than somebody who's disciplined and has to show up whether they drink or not, you know? Like, that discipline is actually the source of freedom. But yeah, the 75 hard thing's cool, and my wife did so good with it. She got to, I want to say it's day 54. Her banging her whole body when she was doing it was awesome. And her dad died that week and kind of knocked her off her course there for a while. And I can't even imagine what that'd be like, but she's like the only person that I know personally who's been down to the letter and gone that far with it. So maybe you'll be the second one.
Maybe. I'm at like 55, I think 56.
So yeah, that's right where she was.
That's right around there. I mean, it's hard to get going, but it's like
once you get the momentum, that feels good.
Yeah.
Those last 20 days are like because I've gone through it once, and then I've been through it like 2 other times that I'm like day 55, and then just something that comes up and you just fucking stop. But yeah, it's not that easy. It's a fucking.
And it's like the same thing with like business. Sometimes you don't feel like showing up. You just feel like shit, and you just want to just stay home and just curl up and or whatever. But it's like that discipline. You got to show up whether you want to or not.
Even if you miss it, man, you either win or you learn. Just get back up and do it again. Start over. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Why do you think most businesses do fail? Because they usually fail. They usually say if you get past like year 3 or 5, you get past like year 5, you should be pretty set.
I think businesses fail because they focus on noise. Like your Miss America answer, if you're a chiropractor, I want to help people. Your guys' thing to do marketing, I want to help people increase exposure. Like, what is it that makes you guys tick? If you're focused on that, you don't care about the noise. You make fun of them all you want. You can have somebody say, oh, it'll never work or whatever. Like, you're not focused on other people's opinions. You're not focused on noise of any kind. You just focus on what you do. And if you're doing it for the right reasons and the right spirit and the right everything, the laws of the universe will just make it come back to you. Like everything in the natural realm just loves things that are altruistic. It loves things that are giving. It loves things that are affluent, So the more that you're all of those things, the more the universe just keeps funneling resources to you. It's just like some sixth, like wonder of the world or whatever, It looks like some people in these super productive states like Elon Musk, like it just keeps happening for him. But it's a reflection of his mental state for one. And it's just like, I've called it the Oprah effect at our office, where we'll think of somebody's name and then they show up. At first they think it's a bunch of hocus pocus. And then it happens, and then we'll think about somebody's name. And if you can't figure out how they popped in your head, there's something, I don't know, call it cosmic, whatever that's happening. And you could work with that energy. It's kind of like an intuition or whatever. But Oprah, if I sold a book and put it on her show, there's like 100% chance it's going to be a bestseller.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
So are you guys just like naming names off all day, calling people in?
It starts, you don't get to just have the Oprah effect. Like, you got to earn it. And the Oprah effect starts off with 75 hard, journaling, writing and putting a pen to paper, and just making a habit out of being able to transform something intangible like a thought and putting it tangibly on a page. Like, that's step one. You got to be able to do that. And I'll bet you anything Oprah was a journaler. After you get good at that, you're able to just say it. You're like, I declare whatever. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Do
you write your stuff down?
Yeah, I actually write a lot. So the more you write it down, the more it becomes true, if only on a page. And then after you get to the true Oprah effect, I don't know if this is really a thing. I just call it that. So if I'm misquoting an actual Oprah effect, sorry. You can just think about it. You can picture it in your head. You don't even tell anybody, and then it just happens. And I bet that's kind of where someone like Elon Musk is at. Back when he was running PayPal or whatever, he was probably journaling, writing things down, and trying to craft things out. Now you can just think about something. They're building a tunnel from LA to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and whatever they thought they could do, he cut it in half. He's like, oh no, that's not fast enough.
Yeah. If you could go back in time and give some advice, whether it's personal or business advice to 10 years ago to yourself,
to myself,
what would it be?
I would want to go a little further back, because that was the beginning of me, I think, really getting to be me. When I moved here, I was still worried about people's opinions and stuff so much. And the noise, just honestly the same things that everybody probably struggles with. I just made an actual declaration, the second stage of the Oprah effect, that I'm not going to let that be part of my life anymore. I just said it out loud. And one of my affirmations when I first met my wife too was to break that codependency of needing somebody to, I don't know, have a beer with, to go on a motorcycle ride with, to just hang out. You can do that by yourself. And so I finally took this, I actually went to this, it's like AA for codependency. There's a group called CODA. And I went to one meeting, and it was so literally overwhelming to me that I couldn't believe some of the levels of codependency that exist for people. And I didn't want to be around it anymore. And so I left that, and I listened to a lot of Grant Cardone, and some of the affirmations of that and Jordan Belfort and stuff were strong on my mind at the time. And my affirmation was, you don't need anybody's help to have a good time. Like,
it's huge. It sounds so simple, but it's huge.
it is. And so I would be like, I want to go float the river or something, and nobody will go with me. And I'm sitting there thinking like a little bitch, a little victim. I'm like, do it yourself then.
It's the same thing. You don't need your spouse or your wife, your husband to be happy.
Exactly.
You should be happy.
I think a lot of couples could learn a lot from a statement like that. Like, you like working out, go work out. If you want to go ride a motorcycle and she hates it, then I don't know. That's your alone time for each other. She
Be back in a couple hours.
Yeah. My wife likes riding with me. She's usually, both my wife and daughter, they just always want to go on a ride. So I love that. But if you can't define yourself on your own, you're not going to do it very well as a couple. You got to be able to kind of respect that nature. And that was actually the third verse of that song earlier I was telling you about, is how the vision that a little girl has of who they want to marry, all of a sudden that feminine energy is being led by that masculine energy, and all of a sudden they realize, wow, this is awesome. I wonder how that happened. And it's literally a reflection of the vision they had of all this when they were little kids and all growing up. It's just kind of neat how it comes full circle. They're just in in our case, she's in such a implementation role for me, and it allows me to be kind of in that vision role. And it just, I don't know, it's just crazy how good it works. But we're successful because of her vision, I think, of me. It allows me to kind of have a vision of my own for other things. Because I just literally want to come home and not let her down. So I whatever her vision she's created of me for me to maybe aspire to is kind of a huge driving force for me.
It's crazy though. It's kind of like a mind game, because in all reality, she probably doesn't have like right now, she's probably not thinking of like a standard for you to set, but it's like that mind game that
she believes in me though. That's
the thing. So it's like the mind game of you telling yourself like, she believes in you, so this is this, so I got to do this.
I have a very different relationship with my mom than I do with my wife. My mom had really high expectations for me. And I think people are a victim of the expectations they set for themselves and for others. If you have expectations of your kids, they're going to rise to it. I always will. You got employees and coworkers, and you set expectations. They always rise to expectations. And so it's not like my mom had a different vision of it. But there was moments where it was a little kind of condescending, like, you ain't all that. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just so cocky or whatever. And my wife maybe has another way of saying the same thing, but she says it in like a supporting role. She might say something like, are you really going to be able to help everybody with an attitude like that? Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. But she kind of has the same thing that she's trying to say. Is like, calm down, Notch, you're all right.
Yeah.
And
how you were saying though, I think it's important for business owners to have a little bit of cockiness in them.
Yeah, you shouldn't think that you're awesome at something, or what are you doing? Yeah. Like, go work for somebody else that's awesome.
Yeah, you should think that your product or service is better than the next dude. Like, if you didn't, then you wouldn't be in business.
Absolutely. Like, we all have a Miss America answer for why you're doing what you're doing. Like, you guys are the best at whatever you want to call it. And that's what you're going for every day. And you could be selling cars, same thing. My dad used to tell us when we were little, the only thing that'll separate you from your competitors is service. You can price yourself the same or different. None of that shit matters. How well you can serve somebody is everything. If he owned a CarQuest and a machine shop and a fab shop and all these things, and somehow did kind of what I'm doing, I guess, now that I think about it, just kind of clumped all these things in one place. And I remember asking him once, I said, what made you think this was going to work? My hometown's got 800 people in it. And the CarQuest where he was at sold more parts than any other CarQuest in like 4 states.
Really?
Wow.
But he'd hop in the truck and he'd drive an hour in all these different directions and drum up business and just go find people that are good at breaking shit and try to sell them some parts, I guess.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so I asked him, how did you know this was going to work? He says, shit, I never even thought how it wouldn't work. That always stuck with me, that he wasn't focused on what could go wrong.
More focused on what could go right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's like, well, shit's going to happen. You just got to adapt and just learn. Got to do it. You'll never lose if you're learning. And, I always thought that was cool. And he would always say, too, I don't know why it was a kitchen sink, but he would say, if somebody needs a pallet of twine when I go to Billings and they need a kitchen sink attached to the tailgate, I'll get them one of those too. I don't know why it was
It's like, that's what they want, huh? That's what we'll get them.
He might have brought home a kitchen sink for somebody once. I don't know.
had to have something. There's a story behind it.
Such a weird addendum.
Yeah.
But he says the other part store in town, Napa's tried to come in and push them out. I don't know how many times, and they just can't. They just can't get them.
Keep up with them.
But that's why I think they're not willing to put a kitchen sink, drive an hour in any direction, and go get somebody's hydraulic cylinder for them and bring it back and fix it. And everybody else is going to say, well, you're going to have to, we close in 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're not.
He's like, no, leave it at the back door. I'll work on it tonight when I get back from dinner or whatever. I don't know how many times he left in the middle of dinner to go, I don't know, get somebody a bearing. Somebody broke down the side of the road. Take them antifreeze, and I don't know. It was never like an option to be like, sorry, I'm with my kids.
If people are reaching out to you, that's for a reason, because they want your help.
Yeah.
So you gotta always be
and he would always just say, man, if I was where they're at, I wish I would do what I'm about to do for them. So that always kind of stuck with me too, and that's I think why we have a walk-in system with the office and stuff, because it is not easier to be ready all the time.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like urgent care and a ER all in one with and people are allergic to trying to plan their lives out.
So I was talking about that. I was like, where could people find you if they want to know a little bit more about you or reach out to you? Maybe they need some help with some stuff.
Well, I'm getting out of my comfort zone and doing, I guess you call it marketing. I don't know why I've always been so against it. I feel like if you're doing it good enough, people will be bragging enough about you to get in. But I don't know.
Just get more people to come in and brag about you. I mean, that's
Yeah, I guess the best way to find us right now, we're about to move into a new building, but we're on Platte Avenue in Fort Morgan.
the best way is for people to just give you a ring, just give you a call.
Yeah.
Check you out.
Yeah, just call. We had a girl today that came in. She couldn't believe that she was able to call. I don't know when she called, probably 2 o'clock, and we were able to get her in by 5. I'd have got her in sooner. It was on her that it took so long. But yeah, maybe social media.
Social media, yeah.
Go to inceptionsmedia.com and you'll probably find a link for us there.
Go through there. Go through all the links. No, we'll put all the links down in the description, down below.
Yeah.
Give you a tag and stuff like that. But appreciate you coming on. Appreciate it.
Fun.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on and just being open with everybody here too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't probably have any other way. I don't have much of a filter, so sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
That's good though.
The good outweighs the bad.
Yeah. It's like I'm not gonna listen to the noise. You don't like it, don't listen.
There you go. Perfect.